Shalom, welcome to Out of Africa Torah Session. My name is Tatra Cohen, and this week we are on the portion of Rehe C, and that is a very beautiful Torah portion that many of you who have been reading have already found out by now. Well, we see in this Torah portion that Moshe begins to explain to the children of Israel that if they decide to worship idols, there are going to be real consequences to that. I like one thing that they actually, foretold, forewarned that if you go this direction, if you choose to go astray, it's gonna be like this. Consequences will definitely come. And that is your own choice to make. Whether you go astray and face the consequences, or you stay on track as you are expected to do. In other words, there will be punishment if you decide to worship idols. Well, you can tell that Hashem had a reason, had a justification why he was so jealous. Nothing was supposed to come in between their relationship. We also see him explaining the laws of kashrut. Well, laws of kashrut, it's a very simple thing. It's what governs what is biblically fit and not regarding consumption, what we may call food. What is food and what is not. And for me, this is a very interesting subject because several times when I travel or even just in the neighborhood, I meet people so often that tell me that, oh, why don't you eat this? Why this? You should eat this, you should eat that. It's like the issue about food and drink is always almost everywhere, especially here in Africa. People eat funny things. And when they discover you are not participating, they want to justify themselves. They also want to tell you that you are lost, you need to loosen up, you are too stringent. But in any case, we are told something, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, the issue of food and spirituality. But before I go that, we also see towards the end, Moshe begins to explain the details of the three pilgrimage festivals. And this is Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Well, like Passover especially is very common among believers, whether from the nations, because, it's talked about. Of course, some they do it in a very weird way, but the fact is it's actually talked about, and many of the believers are conversant with Passover, with Pesach. But today, allow me to dwell mostly on the issue of kashrut. What is biblically fit and not for consumption? I know many of you would want to bring so many arguments over the issues of food and drink. But I like what the wise ones say. You are what you eat. And that's exactly how God perceives the issue of food. Spirituality should never be divorced from physicality. In other words, the physical is the manifestation of the spiritual. We can tell easily by looking at the way you conduct yourself physically. We are able to tell of your spirituality. Why? Because the two are inseparable. And this is what Hashem was trying to tell through Moshe Rabbeinu to the children of Israel. That the concept of food, the concept of physical, the concept of tangible is a result of the spiritual. So in other words, you want to guard your spiritual life? Well, you do so by guarding your physical life, the tangible aspects of your life. It's, for example, like giving. When you give, you do it physically. But at the same time, that giving affects your spirituality. And that is my simple message to you today. That whatever you do in the physical has got bearing in the spiritual. Therefore, you are what you eat. If you want to be kosher, well, eat kosher. If you want to be holy, eat holy. If you want to be righteous, eat righteous. And you may say, wow, these were commandments given to the Jews and so forth. No. If you go to the first believers in the book of Acts, especially towards chapter 15, when the matter was so hot, what shall we do with the Gentiles who are also coming into faith? They were given these laws, and one of them had to do with food. The kashrut was always there. And not only were they given this, the concluding words of that letter given to the Gentiles was very simple. Let them start with these 5 things, what is known today as the Noahide, the laws which were given to Noah as the standard of every human being. Not only the Jews, not only anyone, but the standard of anyone who claims to be a human. This is the entrance. This is how you may conduct yourselves. And then at the end they say, they can start with these 5 as Moses was being read every Shabbat in the synagogues throughout all these places where the Gentiles came from. Beautiful, isn't it? So if you forget everything I've said now, I want you to remember these words. You are what you eat. If you want to be upright, well, go back to the kitchen. Go and make the kitchen upright. I leave you with one other scriptural reference. From Hosea, we are told that in the past, they used to come before God with sacrifices and so forth. But now, God is no longer we are not having sacrifices, not because they have been removed, but they have been put on a pause, on a suspense. So what do we do today? We offer him the sacrifices of our lips. That's what Hosea told us. And the sacrifices of the lips should come from the clean lips, should come from the holy lips. So forget everything I've said. My message to you is very simple. Physical and the spiritual are inseparable. Therefore, you are exactly what you eat. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.